Well, folks, we're getting through a lot of these states when it comes to these quick videos about applying for tags. This one is Nevada, and even though Nevada is a really hard state to draw tags in for both residents and non-residents, the system's pretty straightforward. They use the same system for every species. It's like, why can't we all be like Nevada? Just make it all the same exact thing. This year in Nevada, you better be on the ball by May 10th. In other words, have your application in here, looking at the regulations. So this is another thing I always say. Always read the regulation booklet. Some states call them proclamations. Don't rely on last year, because I'm just looking at the changes for Nevada this year. There's probably more changes in Nevada this year than there has been in quite a few years. So don't assume everything stays the same. Read that proclamation. So the first thing you'll see on the first page of the proclamation is 11 p.m. Nevada time, May 10th is your deadline. And Nevada turns it around really, really quick. They always release the Friday before Memorial Day. And I was talking to their assistant director, and he confirmed, yeah, this year it's going to be on that same schedule. He wouldn't commit, but he said, yeah, you can expect that again, which would be May 27th. So you need to go to the Nevada Division of Wildlife, their website. There's a link, it'll take you out to their vendor, and you got to establish an account. Everything's done online. So you got to know that it's going to cost you $155 for a non-refundable, non-resident license. I say non-refundable with a little caveat. If you don't want to build points, you can get your license refunded. But in Nevada, a state where tags are so hard to draw and they use a squared bonus point system, you're probably going to want to keep that license and build points. So it goes like this. I bought my non-refundable license. I want my points accumulated. So I'm going to be out my $155. Some people say, oh, I just do deer. I'm going to apply. If I don't draw, refund my license, but that person isn't going to get any points. So that's why for 99% of us, I say that it's a non-refundable, non-resident license for $155. And then your application fee per species is going to be $10. Unless you're applying for elk, it's $15. So you have those upfront costs, and if you're so lucky as to draw a tag on May 27th, I think it is this year, your credit card will get hit for the difference. So here's how Nevada's system works. There's 10% of the tags get put over here in a non-resident pool. So unlike Montana, Idaho, Arizona, we're not competing against the residents for the tags. We as non-residents have our own pool of tags that we're competing against each other. So once they carve that out, we have a bonus point system that we have to participate in Nevada, and it's a squared bonus point system. Nevada was the first state that came up with the squared point system, and bonus point systems, as a general rule, tilt the field heavily in the favor of the high point holders. If you square that system, it tilts the field way, way more. But that's how it works. So I'm going to walk you through an example. Let's say that you have 10 points and I have 2 points. So you take your 10 and you square it, that's 100. And you get another random number for the current year application. So you get 101 random numbers because you've got 10 points that are squared. I've only got 2. So you square my 2 and you get 4. And then they add 1 more for my current year application. So I end up with 5 random numbers. You end up with 101. Who do you think has the best odds of having a super low random number? You, because you've got, more than 20 times the number of random numbers that I have. So it's possible that my random number could be lower than yours, but it's not likely. So that's why you see how the spread of tags happens in a squared bonus point system like Nevada. It's really heavily scattered out there among the high point holders and just little dribbles to the lower point holders. So they do that for every species. So you might have 10 points for elk, but you only got 3 for deer. Well, the same process, they do this for each species, right? Look at everybody's point level, assign them all the random numbers, pick their lowest random numbers, put them together, and then start working their way up the pile. The person with the lowest random number, yeah, you get the first tag. Next person with the lower random number, you get the next tag. And so they work from low to high as far as how the random numbers work. But here's the planning point that I want people to think about, is they give you 5 choices in Nevada. Yeah, 5. So they look at all 5 of your choices before they go on to the next person. So use that. That is probably your best strategy in applying in Nevada, is how you use these 5 choices. I always make my first choice such a ridiculously difficult hunt that if I were to draw, you'd hear me shouting out in the streets, because I still got 4 other remaining options. Then I usually go and I select, okay, my 5th choice, this is the best odds of any that I would consider as worthy of my time and my money. And then scatter the other 3 in between, kind of in a hardest to lowest fashion. You know, hardest to draw, easiest to draw. Even though there aren't any easy to draw. You almost shouldn't use the term easy to draw when you're talking Nevada. Don't ever mess that up. Because here's what some people do. They put a 4% chance here, a 6% chance there, and then a 1%, a 1%, and a 1%. Well, they're going to fill these 2 before they'd ever get down to these 3. So flip it. 1%, 1%, 1%, 4%, 6%. Hopefully that makes sense. So, some of you will ask, what are my draw odds? And it's super hard to calculate draw odds in Nevada because you have to run the system. You have to get the data set and run it hundreds of thousands of times. And that's what Go Hunt does in their Insider. They run this, I think, almost 1 million times it's called the Monte Carlo simulation, to get what the likelihood would have been last year. And I always know that last year isn't necessarily what it is this year. Okay, be thinking about that. And you also have a bunch of people in Nevada who are just buying points. So they don't even show up over here. So if one of those big point holders jumps in and they've got 20 points, they're going to end up with over 400 random numbers assigned to them. So be thinking about that. But the best draw odds you can get from Nevada are going to be in the Insider. Go there, use promo code Randy and get all the goodies, and they'll give you $50 in their gear shop. The one thing you will know, or will notice, when you look at Nevada, the archery and muzzleloader hunts have way better odds than the rifle hunt, with one exception. The archery elk hunts, in most units, are harder to draw than the rifle hunts. And the reason that is the archery hunting in Nevada is completely off the charts good, especially now that they've let some of the seasons and some of the units go later into September. They used to close them really early, and the hunts weren't as good. But now that Nevada's, I think this year you can go into September 16th is how late they go, which is pretty darn good. And so you're going to end up with a lot of people applying for archery elk in Nevada. Now, you can mix and match. You could have your first choice be an archery hunt, your second choice a muzzleloader hunt, and choices 3, 4, and 5 could be rifle hunts. So you can mix and match within that species. If that interests you, go ahead and do it. Probably your best chance of drawing anything in Nevada would be archery mule deer, followed by muzzleloader mule deer, followed by archery pronghorn, muzzleloader pronghorn, and rifle pronghorn. The elk and sheep tags are just really, really, really difficult. But you already sunk most of the cost in the license, right? You may as well put your name in the hat. And with Nevada, I say don't just buy points. Make an application. Even if you only use one of your 5 choices, make it an application, because this might be the year that you luck out and get a really low random number. And that'd be a bummer if you just bought a point in a year you could have got a really low random number. So this is a question you often get. And I usually, when it comes to states like Nevada, it's like, I don't think there's many situations where you'd return a tag in Nevada, but you can return a tag. If you do it at least one day before season opens, you'll get your points restored, but you won't get your money back. Now, go read the regulations. There's some different rules that apply to death, disability, and active military duty. So be thinking about that. Now, Nevada and Colorado would probably be considered the states that most people look to for a leftover list. Return tags in Nevada, anything returned more than 14 days in advance of season, goes on, they go and try to select alternates. So anyone who had the first choice for that tag, I think they go through 5 people. Maybe they go through even more, I don't know. But if you had it as your first choice and a tag gets returned, they ask you if you want it. Now, if it was your second choice, you're not going to get asked. If it was your third, fourth, or fifth choice, you're not going to get asked. So they go to the next person in line and say, oh, someone returned this tag, you want it. Now, if a tag comes back within that 14-day window, so 14 or fewer days before season opens, there's a different process. It goes on what's called a first come, first serve list. And that was new last year. So you got to have an account set up with Nevada Game and Fish, or Fish and Wildlife. No, they call it Department of Wildlife. So you have an account set up, and when you go there, they randomly throw these out there. Like, okay, I don't know, they have some computer generated system that says, oh, let's throw this one out there. And you got to be really quick on the draw and add it to your cart. And you have 5 minutes to complete your transaction. And you can only add 1 item per week. Because last year what happened, people would add it, throw it in their cart and be like, oh, I wonder if that's a tag I want. No, and they'd keep doing this. Well, that keeps it from other people. So this year they're changing it and saying, if you add it to your cart, it better be a hunt that you want. So that's another way to maybe get tags if you have a flexible schedule in Nevada. And the reason they do that is because there were a lot of tags that were returned and not getting used and not getting reissued. So we'll see how it works. Everything's a work in process. I thought it worked pretty good last year. I didn't get a tag, but Dale got one. Marcus got one. So Nevada, a few other things you need to know besides that deadline of May 10th is muzzle loaders. You have to use open sights on your muzzle loaders. No optics, no scopes. So there's a bunch of other regulations about muzzle loaders and a bunch of other restrictions on archery. Go and read them and make sure. Nevada, no hunter orange is required. You know, a lot of people still wear it, but it's not required. Hunter education is required for anyone born after January 1st, 1960. There's a waiting period for elk. It's 7 years. For antelope, it's 3 years. And not that non-residents have to worry about this, but I think for sheep, it's 10 years. I mean, I don't think anyone's going to have to worry about drawing a second desert bighorn tag in Nevada. Hunting age is 12. The person has to be 12 years old by the date that season opens for that tag. Nevada does have mandatory reporting. This year they made some changes about illuminating and other types of scopes and optics that are used for night vision. So go read that. They also changed trail cameras. So August 1st to December 31st, no trail cameras allowed on public land. Also, if it's a trail camera that transmits the image, so you don't have to walk in and look at it. The date rolls back, I believe, to July 1st. So those are changes for this year. There's quite a few changes. Nevada usually doesn't have many, but they have quite a few this year. So go download the proclamation and read through it. And remember that your deadline is 11 p.m. Nevada time. They're on Pacific time, May 10th, 2022. And apply and use the strategy of all 5 of your choices. That's how simple it is. And if you're interested in what the real odds are, what your chances are of drawing, the best place to get that is at Go Hunt. Go sign up for their insider, use promo code Randy, and they'll give you $50 of credit in their gear shop. Good luck.